Hello, everybody. It's Chastity White Rose, and I'm doing a live stream. I haven't done very many live streams recently, and the reason I'm doing a live stream at this time today is because I'm not working today, and there's some things that I need to update my friends, those who care about me, about. See, a lot has been happening in my life. So some people uh, some people know that I've talked to. They know I have a situation. I'm no longer going to be able to live in this apartment, is what it appears, because I do not income qualify. So the thing is that the Cedar Ridge apartments where I live, your gross income has to be uh, 3 times your monthly rent amount. And when I was qualified to live here in 2019, September 30th, 2019 is when I moved in here. I had that much income because I had the government job. I worked for Brilliant. I worked at the National Record Center shelving files. So I had enough money. So I qualified with no trouble, even though I think that's a little bit ridiculous, requiring 3 times the monthly rent amount. Um, so now that I lost that job and I'm only on part-time income, and it turns out I'm $300 short of qualifying for what I've even am at now. And then the rent's going to go up another $100 in the lease renewal option. So even if I could afford to renew the lease, it'd be going up about 100. So that would put me $600 short of qualifying. So even though I've always paid my rent on time at the first of the month, um, I still will not be able to renew my lease. And the truth is, it is above my means. Sometimes I've had to use credit cards, I've had to use a loan. And really, the only things that have sustained me is, besides being as smart with money as I can, the fact that, I did get some settlement money from my lawsuit against my former company, and my dad did give me some money as well. So that is what has sustained me, even though I've been a little bit below being able to afford everything. Because when all I have is part time work, I want to get full time. I would like full time. I'd like a 40-hour a week job with health insurance and 2 weeks paid vacation once a year. I would really like that. But my chances of getting that are slim because getting full time in a grocery store like Hy-Vee is really rough, and that's a sort of a higher up decision because it's not a usual thing done. So even though I've been with Hy-Vee nearly 10 years, um, I I can't get full time work, and so I work part time in the floral department, and then I work at GameStop when they give me hours, but it's usually maybe only one day a week, typically. Um, so I don't make enough money to live. This is the sad truth of it. And it's really, I feel like it's kind of a sad statement about our economy and America in general. If a hardworking, responsible person like me who does my best, and I'm so talented, I publish books, I do good at my jobs I go to, I made my own video game, Chasetress, I'm very skilled, I'm very talented, and I'm very honest and reliable and responsible. And even my friends who know me will tell you the same. Um, but even though I've made pretty good choices in my life, I still can't survive as it is. So I'm going to lose this apartment. And so I have been on the apartment hunt. Now, there is good news. Now, yes, there is some good news. Now, there is another apartment complex nearby with lower income requirements. And there is a possibility of my mother and I getting a place together, a two-bedroom in Independence. Well, it technically is not Independence, it's actually KC Mo because it's within the border of what's considered Kansas City, Missouri. But the point is, it's still within walking distance of my job. So I'd still be able to walk to Hy-Vee, work at the floral department or GameStop. It would be a little bit further away, maybe half a mile away further, but I can walk many miles. So I would have no trouble walking to work. As long as I can walk to work and have an income, then I can work things out. So that's just kind of what I'm trying to plan out with my mom. We're trying to work things out. Um, Hopefully, we can get something worked out because my lease expires October 17th. So, come October, I need to have a place to move into. And nothing's available right now. But if something does become available, I'm going to jump at that chance. So, for people who are concerned about my living situation, I want you to know that I'm doing my best and I want people to know that's what's going on. So, that's why, for example, I'm trying to sell my bikes on Facebook Marketplace. Somebody may be interested in coming today. So, I'm going to check my messages on Facebook occasionally. I just started using Facebook Marketplace. So, that's kind of cool. Um, let's see here. Actually, let me see here. I don't know if anybody's seeing my stream right now. I'm going to double check because I do like it when there's some live comments and interaction during my streams. I do like that. It's nice when that happens. Okay. All right. So yeah. So anyway, let me get back to the story here. So yes, I'm having a living situation. I'm going to be forced to move. So I have my bikes listed for sale. They will probably sell either today or within the next couple of days because I'm getting messages. Some people are interested. Um, and then I also have gathered 3 bags of donations of some blankets and some clothes that I don't need because, truth be told, I do not wear most of my clothes. Most of the time, I am in high V uniform. And otherwise, if I'm working at GameStop, I'll still be wearing my same, black dress pants, but I'll be wearing a GameStop shirt or perhaps like this Tetris shirt because you can wear t-shirts at GameStop when you work. So that's cool. So, but the bottom line is, I would say 80% of the clothes that I haven't been wearing because I only have 1 or 2 days of a week that I'm not working. So, what on those days I'll be wearing a t-shirt. I'll probably be wearing this shirt, for example, wearing some shorts because that's what I like to wear when I don't have a dress code. Also, dress codes are stupid because I would be able to perform my job in the photo department easier if I could wear shorts because when I have to bend down and clean the cooler, I have to get into awkward positions because my I can't bend my legs while wearing pants. I need shorts because only then do my knees work, and my knees are bad as it is. So there's that. But anyway, enough about clothing and the living situation. There's a few other things I want to talk about. Now, a little bit later today, I may be doing a podcast. I may be doing a podcast with my former co-host of the Celibate Vegan Voices. And well, if you know about the Celibate Vegan Voices podcast, you will know what her name is. I'm not going to mention it in this video, but we've had a few disagreements on some things. So we're going to try to have a civil discussion or sort of a debate. So because basically, she has accused me of being a pervert and part of a satanic agenda. So, if we do a podcast on that, more will be followed about that later. So she can state what she thinks more accurately, and I can state what I think. Because here's the thing, I do understand a lot of what's going on in the world right now, even though I don't wish to, because I don't intentionally follow things. Whenever I get on Facebook just to post a funny meme, I see people arguing about the overturning of Roe versus Wade, or they're arguing about who knows what, whether it's racism, Black Lives Matter. People are always arguing about something, and then the transgender topic comes up a lot. And for the record, let me explain something. I am a transgender person, but that does not mean that I agree with everything that transgender people do. So, for example, there will be somebody who commits a crime. There will be whether someone's a shooter or whether they raped somebody or whatever, and because the person happens to be transgender, then what people do is like, oh, see, transgender people are criminals, they're evil, and that's crazy. Because okay, I can give you examples more examples of people who are not transgender, but who are criminals. So we know, okay, let me explain something. For many years, because of the fact that the majority of crimes are committed by biological males, people were fearful of me and people were afraid of me. And I felt so sad that I was born male because, people assumed that men are rapists and murderers because the majority of them are. And first of all, a little bit about why the majority of the criminals are males. Bottom line is, even when females try to be evil, they're just not as good at it as males. I'm talking biological people right now. Biological males are physically stronger and they make more money so they can afford guns easier and all kinds of things. It's easier for males to commit crimes. This is a fact. But that does not mean that everybody who is born with male genitalia is a criminal. I'm not a criminal just because of what other males do. And similarly, as a transgender person who identifies as female, I go by the name Chastity White Rose. I prefer she, her pronouns. And this is something people know. If people at my jobs respect this, this is great. I have great coworkers and stuff. But when I see people on the internet and even my former co-hosts trying to send me links about how deranged transgender people are, or that they're part of some satanic agenda because transgender people are doing stupid things, it's the same thing all over again. I can easily point to cisgender females, biological females who do horrible things. It's not hard to find biological females that are criminals too. Of everybody, male, female, trans, cis, black, white, old, young, rich, poor, of any demographic of people, there's always going to be somebody who does horrible crimes. There's going to be murderers, there's going to be rapists, there's going to be thieves, there's going to be liars of any group. So let's not stereotype. This is the thing: is do not stereotype. Just as I don't want people stereotyped for any other group, let's not stereotype transgender people. Because if anybody understands that different different people who are transgender are different, they're not all the same, it's me, because I'm not the same as other transgender people. And one of those major differences, the fact that for me, being transgender is not a sexual thing. It's a little bit different. I'm a virgin. I'm 35 years old and I'm asexual. And so for me, my life choices, as far as being transgender, is going to be different than what other people do. So I'll give you a few examples of how I'm different, and then I'm going to move on to another topic here. But for one thing, now some trans people are easily ultra offended. So if there are other trans women out there that if you call them sir, they're going to get pissed and like, I am not a sir, I'm a ma'am, how dare you sir me, there are transgender people out there like that, which is crazy because people are not mind readers. They don't know what your pronouns are by looking at you. And let's be honest, trans women don't pass. I know that. I don't pass either. I know that the majority of people call me sir because biologically I'm male. I have the male voice. I still look generally male, and that's why I use the men's restroom to blend in and fit in with society and to not make people uncomfortable. So I think that biological males in most cases should use the men's restrooms. I also don't think biological males should be competing in women's sports. And that's something that other trans people would disagree with me, but I can tell you from my experience that even though I have had no testicles for, well, nearly 2 years at this point, I still have retained more physical strength than a biological female would have. I have the bone and muscle structure, and I've retained it through good exercise. So, just using my own body as an example, I could see why biological males would have an advantage of women's sports. Now that might be different if they transitioned at an early age before or during puberty. That's so it should be a case by case basis. But the point of all this, the reason I say all this is that to explain that whatever agendas there are, because people talk about a gay agenda and they talk about the trans agenda, or as I like to call it, the transgender. you know, but bottom line is people are different, and I get very sad because I watched Matt Walsh's documentary, "What Is a Woman." And I thought it was a pretty good documentary. But when I see the comments, and I see the comments on YouTube and Facebook of the things people are saying about that film and about transgender people, how they're just saying, "Oh, well, they're evil sinners, they go to hell, or they're mentally ill, they need to be locked up," and all these kinds of things. It makes me sad because people are wrong to stereotype transgender people as all being criminals and satanic and all that. They're wrong to stereotype people in that way. But that being said, when other people who are LGBT, not just trans, but other people using all kinds of acronyms and labels, when you have other LGBT people doing stupid things, well, because people do stereotype, even though they shouldn't, they're making me look bad. When other trans people do bad things, they make me look bad because people who know me know that I'm not like that. But people who don't know me and see me for the first time are going to look at me and they're I know, look, I know what people think when they look at me. They look at me and like, what is that thing? Well, it looks mostly like a man, but it has a ponytail and it has boobs. I know that people are thinking those things. Now, they don't always say that. There are the occasional people who do say things like that, but people are going to know that I'm transgender. That's just the way it works. And they're going to stereotype me and assume that I'm a criminal based on the things that other people do. And so I don't like that. Just like so, but bottom line is I'm doomed because if I people know I'm a trans woman, then they think I'm bad for being trans. If instead I was not transgender and I just identified as a cisgender man, people would also think I'm bad because cisgender white males are the majority of criminals. So people are going to think I'm a criminal either way. So what is the difference between me as a trans woman or me if I was a cis male? Well, the difference is I'm a lot prettier this way. I'm better looking. The estrogen helps. The lack of testosterone helps. So I'm better looking and I feel more comfortable in my own body. Now, a third thing that I want to talk about, and I do want to summarize this, and I've never come forward about this before, but I have mentioned before that that I was sexually abused at the age of 2. Now, I never publicly revealed who it is. However, events have transpired that make me believe now is the time to speak about who it is. It was my adopted brother, who at the time was known as Donnie Klebs and who is now known as Don Klebs. And a lot of people are going to send me hate messages about this, but that is the one who abused me when I was 2 years old and sodomized me, and also sexually abused my sister. Well, you see, I recently got word that he sexually abused his own daughter. And I was very saddened to hear about this. I mean, I can't say I'm surprised because the guy is a mess and he's dangerous. He's dangerous, very dangerous. And so he has a criminal history. He's been in jail before, and I know he will probably try to retaliate against me for speaking out about this, but I remember. I remember the abuse and I remember how it affected me. Now, on the one hand, I'm not happy speaking about this because this is a very sad thing. This is a very sad thing, but it's something that I must speak about because it ties in with things. You see, there are people who not only are going to tell me, people who have told me this, and you know who you are. People who tell me that because my brother abused me when I was a small child and raped me in my anus, that is the source of my gender confusion and why I feel bad about being a male. And the thing is, there is no way to confirm or deny that theory. There's no way to prove or disprove that either way. That being said, I do know that the abuse has affected me. It has definitely affected me. And when I was in the Navy, I was in Navy boot camp, and it was the first time when I was forced to take a shower with other naked biological males. It was the first time I was confronted with that. And there was more to it, but that was part of what led to my nervous breakdown and why I ended up in the psych hospital. I was in the psych unit at the Veterans Affairs Hospital, the VA hospital in Chicago, Illinois. And they deemed me to be too mentally ill to be in the military, which is fair, yeah. Um, but I remember that time because being around all these other naked men truly terrified me because it brought back bad memories of what happened to me when I was a small child. Because I remember. I don't usually remember things from that long ago, but because it was traumatic, I do remember it. And so being around a group of probably 10 to 12 other naked men in the shower in Navy boot camp, it scared me more than most people can imagine. And I would say that the way I felt was probably comparable to the way, any other rape victim would feel. But the way that other females feel about men and the reason they don't want trans women in women's restrooms, I understand. I understand they don't want to be around biological males because it scares them. Many biological women have been raped by biological males. This is a fact. I know that. But the interesting thing is that when somebody is there are also males who have been hurt by other males, and this is just a fact. And most of the time when this happens, it is an older person abusing a younger person. And so I know that this is going to piss off some people, but I need to talk about it for my own mental health and because I want my brother locked up. I want him locked up where he won't abuse his daughter anymore or his grandchildren. And so I had to say it. I had to say it. And it's a sad thing. And I know that some people are going to wonder, well, why didn't you talk about this sooner, Chastity? Why didn't you mention this sooner? And bottom line is, I didn't really think anybody would believe me. I didn't really think any good would come from it. But, I guess, yeah, I didn't think anybody would believe me. That was part of it because I don't have any proof of it other than my own memory. And so people can believe me or not, whether they want to or not. That doesn't make a difference to me. But those who understand who I am, I'm an honest person. That's the one key feature about me is that I don't lie. I'm an honest person. So anybody who knows that I don't lie will believe me because I have proven myself to be honest. And anybody who's known me for years knows how honest I am. And the thing is, some people are confused because they do not realize, people who knew me years ago, they saw me as one person. And now I'm a different person. I'm very different. And it's not that I was lying about who I was, but I will tell you that I have learned a lot more about who I am. I have learned a lot more about myself and the way I think. And I've even had some changes in what I believe. I've had some changes in what I believe about God and Christianity and other religions. Like I've had some spiritual and physical and mental changes. I'm undergoing the worst puberty. Like this is the worst of times because I'm having to reevaluate everything that I've ever thought, every thought before, things that I was wrong about, realizing more about myself, and all that. And also under the pressure of knowing that I'm going to have to move soon. And I no longer live with my former roommate, River. That's a whole nother situation. We can't live together because it was threatening my survival, the things that were happening, and that's all I really needed to say about it. Um, but yeah, so a lot is happening in my life. So I suppose, in summary, I would like to say that those of you who have listened to this video, you may have noticed I've been distant. You may have noticed I haven't replied to your emails, your messages. I get a lot of emails from a certain friend, and I get Facebook messages and stuff from people. And I just have not been in a very talkative mood. I've been going through a lot emotionally right now. And it's financially stressed, trying to make sure I have a place to live when it comes to be October, and just doing my best to function at work, even though I'm very sad and I'm crying inside. So I just wanted to do an update. This is an important update to let you know that right now in my life, I am living the worst of times because, you know, so much is happening, so many changes happening too fast, and I'm not ready for this. Now, that all being said, although these are pretty sad times, the good news is, at least I have supportive people at both of my part-time jobs, and my mother is still alive and she loves me. And so I have a few good people in my life. I have some good things going for me. And also to my friend who has bought me a lot of my video games on Steam and otherwise, I want to thank you because having the video games to play and relax with when I do have free time really does help me get through my day. But especially playing Tetris, gets my mind off of my emotional problems because all I'm thinking about is where to place those blocks. There's something mega relaxing about that. And that's why I'm wearing my Tetris shirt, because I love the game Tetris so much that I even made my own game, Chasetris, which is super cool. So yeah, I do the best in my life in spite of the things I've been through. So I think I've covered the main things. I've covered pretty much everything that I needed to talk about in this video. Oh, and I see that I have 2 watchers right now. So it's almost 30 minutes into this video. So it's almost 30 minutes. Let me see what time it is. Okay, it's 2:16 p.m. my time. Now, you 2 people watching, if you want to leave any comments, I can try to reply to them while I'm still live. I can still go on a bit longer. And part of the reason I'm doing the stream is to test out to see if StreamYard's still working. I no longer have my premium membership with StreamYard, so I can't stream to multiple platforms at once. But StreamYard is a pretty good streaming platform. And I'm using StreamYard, and it lets me, stream to different platforms. I could also just go live on Facebook. I could do that, But one of the reasons I use StreamYard when there are other ways is I like how easy it is to invite people. I can invite other people onto the video stream, and I can read comments on the side and reply to them. Now, I'm not seeing any comments right now. Um, I don't know if things are working correctly. I'm going to just double check to see. I'm going to double check on my actual Facebook page just to see if anybody has commented. No, doesn't look like anybody's commented right now. So, well, if there are no comments, I may want to end the stream soon. I've talked about a lot. And there are other things I could talk about, but I think I'm going to save my breath. Um, and I may be doing a podcast about 4 p.m., possibly, with my former co host of the Celibate Vegan Voices. And we're going to talk about, is there a satanic transgender agenda and other things. We're going to talk about some things, because we disagree about things. But here's the bottom line: if anybody, even people that I adamantly disagree with, if they want to debate me on the topic of veganism or transgender or abortion or whatever, if they want to debate me on these topics and we set up a time to do a live stream or a podcast, I'm willing to do that. And the reason that I'm willing to do that is because things that are very important to me, things that I consider very important, are worth talking about. There are many things that are worth talking about. And that's why I love doing podcasts. I like being able to have a discussion with people. And I like it when we can keep it civil and we get along. And even though we disagree, we can have an honest discussion. That is one of my favorite things to do. And in fact, I would say that is my most favorite thing to do, but it is not my most favorite thing to do. My favorite thing to do is play Tetris. So I want to end this stream on a high note. And if anybody leaves comments on this video after I've ended the stream, I'll totally try to reply to them in my own time later on too. So please comment if something I've said in this video has meant something to you or helped you in some way, because I want to get back into the habit of doing live streams more regularly. And I don't know what my living situation is going to be very soon, but I have a few months while I'm still here in this apartment. I have this computer, I have my Xfinity internet connection. So during this time, I can still do some live streams. That's what I'm trying to do. I like the live streams because I like interaction, but really this is just a plain video because nobody is commenting as far as I can tell. So with that, I guess I will end this video, and there may be another one approximately at 4 p.m. So I mentioned this so that if anybody happens to be online, I will probably be streaming to Facebook through StreamYard later on at 4. So just check around that time. But if nothing happens, then maybe the plans were canceled. So we shall see. So goodbye, everybody. Oh, and let's not forget the rules. The two most important of the rules of Stream Club are: be excellent to each other and party on, dudes.